Hello, thank you for listening. Shall we talk about the afterlife? There is very good reason to believe that our consciousness does not depend on the physical body. This is no longer just a spiritual belief. There's now a great deal of evidence from out-of-body events, near-death and mystical experiences, and even from the rapidly developing discoveries of quantum physics, that consciousness, our essential self perhaps, can live fully and independently of the body. The body is, if you like, a vehicle for this lifetime that enables the mind to express itself. And like all vehicles, wonderfully intricate though it is, it must eventually break down, releasing the self to enter a new world. Despite the huge number of anecdotal accounts of spiritual mediums who seem able to communicate with the departed and pass on messages, there are sadly very few descriptions of what this entrance or passing over actually feels like. Now, this is very important. Despite our death being certain, this lack of knowledge is why so many people fear the subject, to the point of refusing even to think about, let alone discuss it. Yet if we only knew that it is a safe and peaceful experience, leading to a new life, this would surely revolutionize for the better how we live on Earth. In my first talk about the process of dying, I gave an account based on a lucid dream, in which my mother showed me what she had felt a few days after passing. And this is developed in my novel The Unbroken, a love story, an adventure through other worlds. However, I am definitely not alone in this. An extraordinarily similar account is offered by Frederick W.H. Myers through the automatic writings of Geraldine Cummins in her book The Road to Immortality. Now, Myers was an academic at Trinity College, Cambridge, and one of the founders of the Society for Psychical Research. A highly intelligent, thoughtful, open-minded man, his apparent first-hand descriptions of dying and afterlife have been the foundation of belief for many spiritually minded people. He talks of death as a mere episode, a pause on the long road, and a time of stillness sinking gloriously into rest. The soul then gradually becomes aware of its new subtle or etheric body. This has been attached to the physical by many little threads, he says, and two silver cords that break away as we move forward. The mind must then readjust to its new environment, a place of shadows, where fragments of our past life resurface from the deep subconscious, and we watch this peacefully with detachment before entering, as the butterfly breaks through the chrysalis, what Myers called the world of illusion. There is no river Acheron, no need to pay Charon the ferryman. So what is this world like, the afterlife? There's a widespread belief in rolling hills, gently flowing rivers, and verdant pastures populated by any number of animals and birds. Here a lovely home has been prepared for us by our ancestors, and there are cities of crystal buildings, libraries, colleges, galleries. It's a place of peace and love and learning. Even Myers describes an absence of conflict and effort, the most desirable condition of being. And this description has been repeated without question throughout the mind, body, and spirit community by spiritual teachers and mediums alike. Why this has happened is surely Myers' use of the word desirable. This is what we want to believe. Much as in earthly life, so many people yearn to relocate to the rolling Dorset meadows of England, or the unspoilt White Mountains of New Hampshire, or a quiet ancient stone-built village in the Dordogne. But think, is this a realistic image? No one seems to question how, in a non-physical world, pastures grow without soil, rivers run without rain, or why buildings should be crystalline. We may not like to admit it, but the truth is that we generally see what we want or expect to see, and it may bear little resemblance to the facts. One graphic demonstration of this was the famous double-slit experiment of 1927, in which electrons were fired at a plate with two slits towards a screen. In later versions, a laser beam of photons was used. Now, if electrons are particles, one would anticipate two separate recordings on the screen. But instead, a wave-like pattern emerged, as though the electrons were somehow passing through both slits at once. Should be impossible. The same thing happened intriguingly even when the electrons were fired one at a time. But an even greater mystery arose when scientists set up devices to watch the electrons as they passed through the slits. Now, they behaved like individual particles, as expected. Human observation changed the behavior of the electrons. Consider then too how human memory behaves. Psychologists have shown beyond doubt that our memories are fallible at best, unreliable at worst. This is because what gets encoded into our memory depends on how attentive we are at the time, on other memories we've already stored, and especially on our expectations at the time of an event. The information is then further degraded by our personal beliefs, our prejudices. Worse still, memories are constantly revised whenever they are retrieved. They change according to whom we are telling them and why. Important details may be omitted, even invented. The extreme case of false memory syndrome has led to many innocent people being accused of horrific crimes. And this is so serious that in 2011, a British High Court judge established new legal guidance that witnesses' testimony should be treated with the utmost caution. So, we see and hear what we want or expect to see and hear. Angels in the clouds, a face and a candle flame, the man on the moon. Pareidolia is the tendency to think something we see is meaningful, when in fact it's just random. It's actually not such a bad thing. Human beings have become successful precisely because we search for meaning around us. It's a bad thing if we fail to use common sense. Perhaps then the afterlife will at first satisfy our expectations. After all, the mind will be struggling to make sense of what's happening for a while. But sadly, where does that leave the atheist, or the converts of religions that teach very different scenarios? More Ethiopian Danakil depression than French Dordogne.